Here are some tips I have for those who want to call upon more energy, more motivation, particularly at this time where I've done a survey in my community and the majority of people came back that 90% of people actually feel deflated with what's going on in the world right now coming into 2022. And so here are some tips around motivation and increasing energy levels. So what I first feel very strongly about is what could be happening for people, and maybe yourself. It's actually been very relevant from my experience, is we have moved into a new year. A lot of people have this idea that it's a fresh start, fresh energy, and it's a really great way to see a new year in that way. So that's really cool. And yet people are deflated. I keep going to say defeated as well, because maybe what's going on in the world is having people feel like things aren't different, it's not new, it's not feeling fresh. So what we want to do firstly is, I think that it's very possible people are not being completely honest with themselves and or giving themselves full permission to feel all the feels that you have been feeling. And what I mean by that is really looking at specifically, how has COVID affected you? How has it affected your finances, your relationships, your health, and to be, to really look at each area of your life and to go, how specifically has COVID affected me? To then go, you know what, far out. I have been feeling angry, afraid, sad, and then see, when you're honest with yourself on how it's affected you specifically, the idea is that you can see your emotions. And I've created a what's it called? I can't think what it's called right now, where it's like SEA. So right, see your emotions, where S stands for sit with your emotions and notice the stories that you are telling yourself that go along with these emotions. And so to see our emotions, right, the first step is to sense them as well. So sit with them, notice the stories, and maybe you feel like you're already really aware of this, but the purpose of this step is to, and the purpose of why I'm bringing this up is, I think we might not be fully realizing just all the things we've been feeling. And I think what could be happening is we're doing things that's endeavoring to have us escape from. So we're doing escapism behaviors. So you might have come into this new year actually feeling really what I call wired, where you're highly stimulated. So I think there can be a lot of people who've been watching a lot of TV, reading books to the point where they just feel like we need entertainment, we need stimulation. Underneath the purpose of that is to escape the negative emotions. And then because in the external environment we're having more stress being put upon us with what's going on, right? If we're not being honest with how we're already been feeling, well, what might happen is we just continue to escape into behaviors and doing things, eating things, that's having us on overdrive, and consequently we're not really letting our bodies speak to us and go, you know what, I have been feeling these emotions. So the first thing is to be honest and just go, yeah, absolutely, you know what, it specifically affected my finances and that has caused me to feel this. And right, so that's your first step. Then you go into, when I say see your emotions, I've cheeky and I've changed it to SEA, to see your emotions. So S, sit with your emotions, notice the stories, sense your feelings. So going out into nature, cutting out stimulation on a daily basis, at least allocating a good hour if you can, or more, of course, to sense your feelings so you're not escaping from them, so that you can then emote and evaluate. So SEA. So we sit with them, Then we want to now emote and evaluate our emotions, our feelings. So this can just be naming how you've been feeling. So going, oh, actually, I have been feeling afraid. I have got fear. And then asking yourself, as I've asked myself, what is it specifically that I'm afraid of? Like one, it could be getting sick, right? But then going and then talking to yourself about, well, what would that mean to you? Are you prepared to look after yourself if you get sick? And just being mindful of the stories that you're projecting out into the future too. Really important that we can notice if we're going into overdrive negative stories that probably won't happen, right? And you just need to parent yourself and work through those stories. And that's why in the S, it's really important to look at the stories that you're telling yourself. So that in this step of emoting and evaluating, I've noticed that one of my fears when I think about what am I afraid of, it's if I get sick, well, how it will affect my family, yes, but also too, directly how it would affect my finances dramatically, and how it already has affected my finances dramatically because I run my own business, and if I can't show up, then it is specific amounts of money. I've got something coming up this month, and I know that if I do get sick and can't attend that, then that is directly going to affect my finances. So me just acknowledging that for myself has me be really clear on, oh, okay, that is specifically what I'm fearing. And when we evaluate that, when we know that, we can start to, like I always try to just take a breath. Our body can go, okay, you're listening. You're getting the messages. I don't need to hold on to this sense anymore, this feeling. Maybe it's anxiety or fear being held in the body, adrenaline, trying to escape, right? All of that can stop once you become clear on what's really going on for you. So this is really important as to why we need to see our emotions. So once you emote, so it might be useful too for you to cry, or for you to do something resourceful about any anger that you might have, right? So part of it is emoting and evaluating. Then we're up to A, and that is about action. It's also about accepting, just having acceptance about how you feel. Absolutely making sure that you just accept for yourself that that's how you're feeling, and you want to notice what action you can take. So I think that is why people have a lack of energy and have a lack of motivation, because there is a massive build-up of everything we've gone through. And one, of course, we're all absolutely just over it and wishing and wanting for us to be able to live our absolutely normal lives where we don't need to consider COVID in our world at all. And we wonder what the new normal will be. And yeah, a lot of us might have experienced COVID for the first time. A lot of us might be feeling like, oh, I wonder how it's going to be if I catch it, And it's a virus, right? It's just a virus. It's just like I'm not saying it's similar to the cold, but you'll be able to manage it just like your body has managed your health in the past as well. So just putting it out there, being very mindful of your perception of the COVID thing too. So if you need to, be really mindful of cutting out external pieces of information that's coming to you around this topic. So you just have to look after yourself and choose wisely for yourself. Okay, so once you've done that, once you've just gone, this is how I've been feeling, this is why I'm still feeling these things, this is what I'm fearing specifically, this is what I'm feeling angry or sad about specifically. I've had a lot of loss and sadness and processing all of that. And it is like that C process is all about processing your emotions. And depending on what's going on for you, that will determine how long and what is needed of you to process those circumstances. Right, then what can we do for motivation and energy levels? Well, if we've done all of that, then I want to give you a little mind tip, mind hack of how your mind works. Is, say if there's something like in your environment where there's a lot and it's overwhelming, and of course then with everything else going on, we're just depleted and no energy. Well, what you want to do is really think and focus on little pieces of, like, the brain works in chunks of information. So say if it's got to clean my house, well, chunk that down into smaller parts and choose one part first. And what you want to do is notice when you think of that thing, you might like to close your eyes, because when we have an external thing that we think about, so I know that's interesting, because say when we think about something external, that becomes a thought, and then it's internal, right? It's inside our mind. And what happens is when we think of an external thing, in a second, we already have picture, sounds, feelings, self-talk about that thing. So like, let me give an example, like doing the laundry, doing the washing of the clothes. When I think about that, I have a specific picture, and it comes with some self-talk and some feelings about that. And what we want to do is we want to explore that picture that you're holding in your mind. So when you think of a specific thing, you might like to close your eyes and notice, what does my feeling of doing the laundry feel like? And then if I was to think about the visual aspects of that as a picture, chances are it's not very compelling. It's dim, it's boring, it's, it's something I don't want to do, so it's like far away from me. It's this thing of like non-importance or less importance to me. And what we can do is, again, good to close your eyes, is think of that thing and make the picture exciting. Now, chances are, how to make that picture more exciting is to think of it already done, is to think of the positive outcome. So in my example, I would go, okay, when I think of doing the laundry, this is actually, I can already feel my motivation for doing it increasing. Right after doing this video now, I feel like I'm going to go and do it for sure. Because all of a sudden, just giving you guys the idea to think of it complete, is my laundry has become brighter when I think of it, because it is just getting done. And it's actually a super easy thing. So instead of me putting all this dark energy into it, which is what it can feel like sometimes, because it's the context of like feeling behind on other things home related. So just going, right, it's done. I'm already picturing myself. The picture has changed. My laundry has become brighter. It's just getting done. I can see myself doing what's needed. And then I'm also going to picture the clothes being folded and back in their drawer. So I'm going to make this a movie, and I'm going to picture myself, maybe putting on some music or listening to my audiobook while I put the washing away. Isn't that magical and amazing to think about, right? And so what we want to do is we just want to become a bit more conscious of, and we want to chunk it down. That's a big key too, is think of these things specifically, in which when you think of them now can feel all encompassing, all overwhelming. Just think of a thing, maybe close your eyes and just go, okay, what's the picture going on in my mind, feelings and self-talk, and then change the picture and the movie really by going, what does it look like when it's done? And notice what comes to you, because the resources come from your unconscious mind. When you ask yourself that question, what does it look like when it's done? Well, what can happen is, like in my example, the process and the steps become obvious. Like I'm seeing myself taking the actions that are needed. So go ahead, do that, and you will notice that as you think of these specific things, your motivation and energy will increase. Speak to you soon.